Good afternoon, good people of the snow. This is Ben with the Sawtooth Avalanche Center with your weekend update for February 17th, 2023. As a reminder, these weekend updates aren't intended to replace the forecast, they're intended to supplement the forecast. Check the forecast before you head out into the field every day. It's posted by 7 a.m. each day. Well, here we are sitting at almost low danger everywhere across our area. You can see the green in the Banner Summit Zone, the Sawtooth Zone, and the Soldier and Wood River Valley Zone. And then we're still hanging out at moderate danger in our Galena Summit and Eastern Mountain Zone. That danger is being held up due to concerns about hard slabs sitting over weak faceted snow in the snowpack there. We've gradually decreased in danger over the course of the week. If you look at the right side of the image, we're at moderate everywhere, and then we've seen a lot more green showing up as the week has progressed. Weather this week, we had a storm Monday night into Tuesday. It was a relatively minor storm, though we did have a good bit of wind with it. Most areas saw 1 to 3 inches of snow, with favored areas picking up 3 to 6 inches of snow. This all fell as pretty low density snow, clocking in at between 4 and 6% density, which made for some great skiing and riding if you're able to find deep enough piles of it. The remainder of the week has been cold, beautiful, and sunny. Looking a little bit closer at this wind that we've had, this graph is showing us wind over the past week. This is at our Upper Soldier weather station in the Soldier Mountains, typically one of our windiest spots. We once again broke 100-mile-an-hour gust speeds there. That was during the day on Tuesday. And then the rest of the week, it's been significantly calmer winds. Majority of the winds, as you can see looking at those wind roses at the bottom, have been blown out of the north and northwestern sides of the compass. Those winds produced a range of wind slab avalanches. This is actually from before the little storm. This is a slope just south of Bella Mountain to the west of Haley. You can see a small, relatively small wind slab that broke near the ridge line and then rode down and trained a significant amount of facets as it traveled downhill. This photo was taken the 12th. Here's another photo taken on the 12th. This is looking at David O'Lee Peak in the White Cloud Mountains. Southeast facing slope, a little above 10,000 feet here. You can see that relatively small wind slab. I say relatively small, but it's a pretty big piece of terrain, and a wind slab like that would be enough to catch you, carry you, and bury you in the wrong sort of terrain. And a little more recently, we can see this slab that Ethan spotted in the Sawtooth Mountains near McDonald Peak a couple of days ago. This is after the small storm this week. This broke initially as a wind slab and then stepped down, likely to some facets and crusts in the upper snowpack there, and that kind of steep, rocky terrain. Looking forward into the weekend, looks like we've got a pretty darn nice weekend on tap. If you're south of Galena Pass, you're going to see a lot of sun, a lot of blue skies, maybe some clouds here and there, but no significant snowfall. If you're up here north of Galena Pass, in our northern and western mountains, we're likely to see maybe an inch of snow. We'll have the storm on Saturday, but really doesn't look too terribly impressive. We may see a little uptick in wind speeds and that, but mostly this is just going to be kind of a weak brush by with increased cloud cover and a dusting of snow. Will not at this point, doesn't look likely like this will change significantly change the avalanche danger picture or the avalanche problem picture. Speaking of avalanche problems, we've got a couple that you'll be looking out for this week or this weekend. Most likely thing that you're going to run into are small, relatively isolated wind slabs formed from this latest batch of snow and some lingering hard slabs. We're most concerned about these slabs where they're sitting on some of the weak layers that we've got in our upper snowpack. Thinking about weak layers, jump down to that next problem there, our persistent slab problem. These weak layers have largely gone into somewhat of a state of dormancy, and triggering avalanches involving the weak layers in our snowpack has become unlikely in most areas. The big caveat to that is if you're heading out into the Galena Summit Zone and up into some of that big alpine terrain that you'll find in the Pioneers and the Boulders and in the White Clouds, that's kind of our most concerning snowpack in our forecast area at this point, and where you're most likely to find one of these lingering hard slabs that break on weak facets deeper in the snowpack. and produce relatively large and dangerous avalanches. Again, the likelihood of that is not great, but those are the two types of problems you're likely to see. In addition to that, expect to see loose snow avalanches be possible. If you're skiing really steep, sheltered north-facing terrain, you might find big stacks of facets, and you can trigger little loose, dry avalanches involving those facets. If you're skiing on slopes that face the sun and it gets warm enough, maybe you'll be able to peel off some little superficial wet, loose avalanches. But both these types of slides will be relatively small, but could cause some problems for you if they knock you off your feet in the wrong terrain. All right, so just one quick note before I let you go here. I'm gonna spend about a minute talking about risk homeostasis. Risk homeostasis is this idea that we get comfortable at a certain level of risk, and as things become less hazardous, say the avalanche danger decreases, we end up taking more risks by putting ourselves in more serious terrain. These are both photos that I snapped this week, and you can see that this is the type of terrain where if you do trigger a small avalanche or you get swept off your feet, or even if you take a fall, consequences can be pretty high. So even as we're seeing avalanche danger decrease, we know that because of that, a lot of us are stepping into more serious, more consequential terrain. And when we do that, we end up taking about the same risk that we're taking when we're trying to avoid avalanches by staying in really mellow terrain. All of a sudden we're less worried about these big, huge, wide-breaking avalanches, but these smaller things that might knock us off our feet, flush us down steep couloirs, steep chutes, or through treed terrain, or maybe even plug us into a terrain trap at the bottom. Those things become forward on our mind as we're thinking about the hazards that we're facing. So there you have it. Please check the forecast before you're heading out in the mountains. Hope you guys all have a great, safe, beautiful weekend. Enjoy the very light dusting of snow or the mostly clear skies that you'll see south of the pass. And let us know what you're seeing out there. It helps us and it helps you, and we really appreciate it. Thanks.